Did you know that India produces more than 120,000 tons of human feces every day? Not to mention billions of liters of urine. But the most shocking thing is not the volume. It is the destination of all this waste. This material does not even come close to a sewage system. It accumulates in open pits, often in broad daylight, near homes, schools, and markets. Every day, workers collect tons of waste with shovels, buckets, and their bare hands, earning less than a bottle of water costs on the street. And yet, India is not alone. There are countries where rivers have turned into poisonous mud, capitals where the air you breathe looks like smoke from a fire, and cities where dirt comes out of the bathroom, runs down the streets, and comes back through the tap. Today, Bello Mundo takes you to see the dirtiest and most polluted countries on the planet. Number 1. Chad. We start this list with a country where the dirt isn't just on the ground, it falls from the sky. Chad, in the heart of North Africa, is one of those places that few people know about, but it always appears at the top of the rankings when it comes to air pollution. And the most curious thing is that this pollution is not caused by cars or factories. It is caused by the desert itself. More precisely, by the Baudelaire Depression, one of the regions that releases the most fine dust into the atmosphere in the world. The sand flies for miles, covering villages and invading entire cities. On many days, the sky in Chad looks like sand fog, and breathing becomes a challenge. But that's only half the story. On the ground, the situation can be even worse. Most people have no bathroom, no sewage system, and no garbage collection. What should be drained becomes a puddle. What should be treated becomes a ditch. Clean water is rare, but dirty water is everywhere. And it is with this water that many people cook, bathe, or simply survive. Outbreaks of cholera and other diseases are frequent. And when it rains, the dust turns to mud, the garbage spreads, and the sewers overflow. Everything mixes together, everything comes back through the doors, through the windows, through our feet. Chad is an extreme example of a country where dirt comes from the wind, the earth, the water, and the total absence of infrastructure. And that's why it opens this journey. Number 2. India. Since we started this video talking about India, it's only fair to include the country on our list. After all, we're talking about a place with more than 1.4 billion people, living in cities that are growing at a speed that no public service can keep up with. And that's where the chaos begins. In India, dirt is not just what you see. It's what you step on, what you breathe, what runs off the ground and comes back through the tap. In many neighborhoods, garbage accumulates because collection can't keep up. Sewage runs in the open, and in most cases, it is not even treated. Some of it seeps into the ground, some of it runs through alleys, some flows directly into rivers. The greatest symbol of this is precisely the most sacred, the Ganges River. For millions of people, it is synonymous with faith, but it is also, unfortunately, one of the most polluted rivers in the world. Industries dump waste, cities release sewage, cremation ashes are thrown directly into the water. It is faith, culture, and pollution sharing the same space, every day. And the air? It is also far from clean. According to IQR, a Swiss company specializing in monitoring air quality worldwide, India remains at the top of the ranking of places with the highest levels of fine particle pollution, known as PM 2.5. These particles are so small that they can enter the lungs and bloodstream. In cities like Delhi, the air is so thick that it is common to see adults and children wearing masks, not because of viruses, but because the air is too heavy to breathe. Number 3. Bangladesh. If India is already impressive, Bangladesh is the country that makes many people wonder how it is possible to live in certain places. Here, the dirt is not just on the ground. It is in the air, in the water, on the walls of houses, in the rivers, and even in the interval between one honk and another. Dhaka, the capital, is the perfect portrait of this chaos. One of the most densely populated cities on the planet, where every street seems to compete for space with trash, traffic, construction, and people trying to survive in the midst of it all. The air is heavy because of the old and poorly maintained fleet of buses belching smoke, loaded trucks, and motorcycles without filters circulating day and night. And as if that weren't enough, the potteries scattered around the city spend all their time burning coal, rubber, and plastic, throwing a constant cloud of smoke over everything. And that's just what comes from above. On the ground, the chaos continues. Dhaka produces a huge amount of garbage every day, but less than half is collected. The rest is scattered across gutters, clogged canals, and open sewers. When it rains, everything mixes into thick, brown water that flows through the streets, carrying trash, chemical waste, and accumulated dirt. And it was during one of these rains that a scene unfolded that was seen around the world. During a religious ritual, animals were sacrificed in the streets. The rain fell heavily, and the drainage system, which was already clogged, couldn't cope. The blood mixed with the water and flowed through the neighborhoods like a red river. Many people thought it was staged, but it was just the city collapsing once again. Number 4. Pakistan. We continue our journey and arrive in Pakistan, where dirt is everywhere. It is in the air, in the water, on the sidewalks, in houses, and in open ditches. The country ranks among the worst in the world in terms of air quality almost every year, and you only need to look at Lahore to understand why. Lahore is not just any city. It is Pakistan's second largest city, the country's cultural capital, and the main urban center of the Punjab region, one of the most densely populated areas on the planet. And that is precisely where pollution is most evident. During hot and dry seasons, the sky disappears. A thick fog of smoke, dust, agricultural burning, and exhaust covers everything. There are days when, in the middle of the afternoon, it seems like the sun has given up. But the problem is not just in the air. Most of the poorest neighborhoods simply have no drainage. Sewage runs in open ditches, creating that acidic smell that seems to stick in your nose. When it rains, these ditches overflow. And since there are almost no treatment plants, all of this returns to homes, alleys, and businesses. And all this dirt, sooner or later, ends up in the water. Much of the country's sewage goes straight into the rivers and canals that supply millions of people. No filter, no treatment plant, nothing. In many places, people boil water before drinking it. In others, they only trust bottled water. Because trusting tap water there means risking catching everything from intestinal infections to serious diseases. Number 5. Nepal. After Pakistan, we move up the map and arrive in Nepal, a country nestled in the middle of the Himalayan mountain range, known for its giant mountains and trails that lead to Everest. Many people imagine that this whole setting delivers clean air by nature, but you only have to enter the Kathmandu Valley, the region where the capital is located and where a large part of the population lives, to realize that the reality is quite the opposite. The valley acts like a huge bowl. When the wind stops, nothing rises. The smoke does not spread. It descends and gets trapped inside. In winter, the air turns into a gray broth of dust, exhaust fumes, burning garbage, wood stoves, and domestic smoke. It's like walking with a heavy blanket stuck to your face. Each step seems slower because the air simply doesn't flow. And it's not even the air that puts Nepal on this list. What really weighs heavily is the dirty water. The main example is the Bagmati River, which runs through Kathmandu and was once considered sacred and a symbol of purity for many people. However, the part that runs through the city has become a dark canal. In many places, it no longer looks like a river, it looks like a sewer. The water carries household waste, chemical foam, industrial waste, market scraps, all mixed together. And it's not just inside the river, it's around it too. The banks accumulate black mud that spreads when it rains. Entire neighborhoods dump garbage directly into the stream, and when the floods come, that same water returns to the houses as a dark mass that carries everything that was thrown there before. Nepal is trying to react. The Supreme Court, which is the country's highest legal authority, has already ruled that new buildings must include septic tanks and that dumping trash on the banks is prohibited. But there is a huge gap between the law and practice. There is a lack of money, a lack of enforcement, and an abundance of people trying to survive in a crowded valley where any heavy rain triggers more dirt to circulate. Number 6. Democratic Republic of Congo. Leaving the mountains of Nepal, we go straight to the heart of Central Africa. We cross jungles, villages, and immense rivers until we reach a country where dirt has another name. Here, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it is not just a nuisance, it is a daily threat. Instead of smoke in the air, the problem drags along the ground, contaminates the water, and sickens entire cities. Kinshasa, the capital, is one of the largest metropolises on the African continent. More than 15 million people live in a space that mixes vitality and urban collapse. Unpaved streets, sewage flowing between houses, piles of garbage that go weeks without collection. And when it rains, there is no escape. The water carries everything: food, mud, feces, construction debris. The worst is what remains afterwards. When the water recedes, what remains is soil saturated with disease. The sewage dries in the sun, the garbage rots, and the smell takes over. In many neighborhoods, children play a few feet from these contaminated puddles. Food is washed with muddy water, and that's where the outbreaks come from. In recent years, Congo has faced serious cholera epidemics. Not by chance. There is no garbage collection, no sewage system, no treated water. In the countryside, the situation is no better. Many people drink directly from streams, makeshift wells, or the same river where they wash clothes and animals drink. It's a dirty cycle, and that's what makes the filth here so dangerous, because it kills silently. Number 7. Nigeria. After crossing Central Africa, we land in Nigeria, a giant on the continent with over 200 million inhabitants, a vibrant economy, but an urban crisis that is obvious. In cities like Lagos, the country's economic capital, dirt is not just a problem. It has become part of the landscape. The city produces mountains of garbage every day, and there is not always anywhere to take it. When collection fails, and this happens frequently, the waste is pushed into the canals, the shores of the lakes, and the mangroves that surround the city. Lagos is losing nature and gaining debris. On hot days, the smell takes over. On rainy days, the trash floats. The flood brings not only water, it brings everything that was left on the ground. And since the drainage is already clogged, the return of dirt becomes part of the urban cycle. But the problem doesn't stop on the ground. The air is also heavy. Nigeria faces dangerous levels of pollution, with concentrations of fine particles well above the World Health Organization's recommendations. Part of this comes from the aging fleet, part comes from burning, and a significant portion comes from diesel-powered generators that run night and day in neighborhoods without stable power. It's a vicious cycle. The city grows, infrastructure doesn't keep up, dirt returns, and public health collapses. Number 8. Indonesia. After the urban chaos of Nigeria, we cross the planet and land in the world's largest archipelago. Indonesia is a country of stark contrasts, paradise beaches on one side, and one of the most alarming scenes of filth in Southeast Asia on the other. Here, trash is not hidden. It is visible. It burns, floats, runs off, and spreads wherever it goes. In millions of homes, there is no public garbage collection. What exists is burning in the backyard: plastic, paper, food scraps, styrofoam, rubber, all together, all on fire. And this toxic smoke that rises into the air, burns the throat, and sticks to the skin has become part of the everyday smell in many neighborhoods. But if the trash doesn't turn to ash, it turns into a current. One of the most extreme cases in the world is here, the Citarum River. It was once considered the most polluted on the planet. Instead of water, what you see is a thick layer of debris that seems to float like a carpet. Bags, packaging, chemical foam, strange colors on the surface. In certain stretches, the river seems alive, but it is the trash that moves. And much of this filth comes from industry. Paper, plastic, and clothing factories dump waste directly into waterways. No filters, no treatment. And those who live in the poorest areas end up using this same river for everything: drinking, washing, cooking, bathing. When it rains, this dark broth invades the streets and returns to the houses. The sky also suffers. In addition to the smoke from houses, forest fires cover entire islands with a white haze. Flights are canceled, schools are closed, families are locked inside their homes for weeks. Pollution here does not choose a place. It is in the air, in the river, in the backyard, and in the daily routine. Number 9. Hungary. After crossing countries where garbage takes over the streets and rivers turn into dark broth, we arrive at a very different case. Hungary is on this list not because of excessive sewage, toxic smoke, or accumulated debris. What puts the country here is something else: visual pollution. That feeling of urban neglect that many people notice as soon as they set foot in the capital, Budapest. Budapest is beautiful. It has bridges over the Danube, grand architecture, famous thermal baths, and a history that leaps out at you from the buildings. But it also has a growing maintenance problem. In recent years, the city has begun to appear in rankings as one of the dirtiest capitals in Europe, according to tourist reviews, comments on travel websites, and even data from public opinion platforms. And this is reflected in the details: broken sidewalks, overflowing trash cans in tourist areas, graffiti-covered buildings, neglected alleys. It's the kind of dirt that doesn't become a health tragedy, but it does become a nuisance. And when you add to that the fact that the city receives millions of visitors a year, any oversight becomes a megaphone. Hungary does not face the urban chaos of places like Dhaka or Kathmandu, but it also fails to keep Budapest up to the standard of the tourism it receives. And that weighs heavily. It weighs on the image, it weighs on the experience, and it ends up on lists like this one. Number 10. China. After Hungary, we come to a curious and contradictory case: China, a country that at first glance does not seem dirty. The streets are clean, the sidewalks are organized, and there is almost no trash. But China's dirt is elsewhere. It is in the air, and even more so in its global impact. China is now the largest emitter of carbon dioxide on the planet. Alone, it accounts for a huge share of the emissions that warm the Earth. This is the price of decades of rapid industrialization, non-stop factories, and cities that have grown like never before. International reports, such as those from IQR, place China among the countries with levels of fine particulate matter well above those recommended by the World Health Organization. But what is striking is precisely the contrast. China, which pollutes the air the most, is also one of the countries that has made the most progress in cleaning up the soil. The country that was once called the world's garbage dump for importing tons of waste from other countries now leads the way in incineration plants and urban collection systems that operate with surprising efficiency for the size of the territory. But while the streets are clean, the sky remains heavy. In large industrial centers, a white haze covers everything. Buildings disappear, the sun disappears, and on critical days, even airports are closed because of visibility. It's the kind of dirt that doesn't show up in a photograph, but it shows up in the future. Bonus: Brazil. To end this trip, we return to South America, more precisely to Brazil. According to data from the Swiss platform IQOR, the country does not even appear among the most polluted in the world when it comes to air quality. In the most recent ranking, Brazil was around 73rd place, far behind the leaders when it comes to air quality. But when we shift our focus and start looking at visible, concrete pollution, the kind that clogs rivers, invades homes, and comes back through the tap, the picture changes. Brazil is huge. It has large metropolises, isolated rural areas, forest areas, and an immense coastline. But basic sanitation has not kept pace with this growth. As a result, thousands of tons of garbage and sewage flow every day into bays, mangroves, and canals. And this happens in both large and small cities. Perhaps the most emblematic case is Guanabara Bay in Rio de Janeiro, one of the most beautiful scenes in the country when viewed from afar. But those who get closer see the other side: dark water, foam, floating garbage, pipes dumping waste, and even patches of sewage. Estimates indicate that millions of liters of sewage arrive there daily. The tide takes it away and brings it back, and the problem spreads. The Guandu River, which supplies millions of people in the metropolitan area, is under constant alert. Reports of illegal dumping, bodies found, water with a strange taste, a mixture of crime, pollution, and environmental neglect. But it's not just in the southeast. In other parts of the country, Amazonian streams have become dumping grounds for debris. Urban canals in the northeast mix water and sewage, and rivers in Sao Paulo lost their color, smell, and life decades ago. Brazil does not top the global rankings for air pollution, but it does appear on another list, that of countries that dump the most waste into the ocean. And this puts the country in a contradictory position, with incredible natural resources and unique landscapes, but still facing enormous difficulties in dealing with the basics. And so we close our list of the dirtiest countries in the world. Now tell me, which one shocked you the most? Were you already aware of this reality? Tell us in the comments. And if you liked the video, you know what to do. Subscribe to Bello Mundo, turn on the bell, and see you next time.